This is a video showing how to remove an offset between two sensors of the same type. So first we'll start off by taking a look at our interface here. And here we have two pressure sensors that are attached. They don't necessarily have to be pressure sensors, but they do need to be sensors of roughly the same type, or taking the same measurements. So we'll go ahead and close this down. We're now going to use the calculator to calculate the initial offset between the two sensors. So we'll do this by creating a new calculation called offset. To make sure that we're getting the difference between the initial values, we'll need to use the first function. The first function allows us to pull only the first value that's recorded by that. So we'll go to the special functions and we'll select first from that. You'll see that that places the function on that line and then gives the open and closed parentheses into which we'll need to put the argument. So placing my cursor over that blinking cursor, I'll right click and then go to Insert Data. At this point I'll need to put in the value for the pressure sensor that's returning the higher value. In this case we'll call this pressure 2. And then we're going to repeat that same process, but we're now going to subtract off the lower value so that we get the offset for the initial values. Since it will only be acting on the first data point, we also need to use the first function so that it will only use that first value. Once I have the open and closed parentheses, again I'll place my cursor over the blinking cursor here, and then I'll go to Insert Data, and in this case I'll put in pressure 1. Once I've done that, I now have a positive value for the difference between these initial readings for these pressure sensors. Now what I need to do is I will hit Tab to advance to my next point here. And now I'm going to put in a calculation for corrected pressure. And this is going to be equal to the higher value of the pressure sensor. And from that, I'm going to subtract off the offset. And I can select the offset from my calculations here by going to Insert Data and going down to Offset. Initially, I didn't have to, for the offset function, I didn't need to assign units, but since the corrected pressure is going to be displayed on graphs, I need to go ahead and display the units here. This is where it's important that all of the values, both the sensors and the calculations, are of the same units. So in this case, I'm going to put under units kilopascals. Once I've done that, I can now then advance to my graph. So I'm going to create a new graph here. And then since I already have a graph display, I'm going to left click on the select measurement and go down and select my lower pressure value. Once that's displayed, I'm going to again click on my vertical axis, and now I'm going to add a similar measurement, but in this case I'm going to select corrected pressure. So that's the equivalent of selecting the measurements from pressure sensor 2, but those values have been corrected for the initial difference between the pressure sensors.